I looked at the portfolio there, and it's completely deep tech and sort of like invention based ideas. So what was the process of like capturing an invention and taking and productizing it and making a return out of it? Like, what was the thinking process there?
Yeah. So and you can read Malcolm Gladwell's take on this in an article where he described our invention sessions. Um, and the invention sessions are a bit of a riff on like an innovation session or an envisioning session or things along those lines, where you come up with wild ideas within a particular problem space, um, in a very unfettered sort of way. And the whole goal of the session is to generate as many ideas as possible. That's the sole ROI you're looking for in those sessions. But there's certain conditions you set for success in those sessions. And so the way that we ran those sessions, and I ran a number of them, is that we would prepare for months ahead of time in gathering all of the materials that related to the problem space. And by materials, I mean the scientific research in a particular problem space, the market and startup landscapes of that particular problem space, things that people had written about it, books, articles, YouTube videos, everything along those lines. And the goal was to inform kind of the fermentation moment of when you're thinking about a problem. All of these things wouldn't themselves be a solution necessarily, but they're all the things that someone who wanted to be completely informed, or as informed as possible about a set of problems, had all of the raw material there. We'd also do customer discovery. We'd do customer interviews to understand those pain points. We'd bring people in and run sessions with them where they would, get deep into their own, the problems they were encountering, so that everybody who is part of the sessions had to understand those materials deeply. We'd even quiz them on occasion. It also helped that Bill Gates, whenever he came to those sessions, he would have all of those materials like completely grokked, and so you needed to have them grokked too, so that you didn't lose face in front of Bill. But the key, so we'd get everybody all of those materials and have them go through them a good month or so before the actual sessions happened. That gave everybody an even playing field in terms of, I may be a physicist, I may be a biz dev person, I may be an attorney, I may be, a program manager, but I have all of the same raw material and my own perspective on it that I can bring to these sessions. The sessions themselves then were set around particular problem spaces, and we'd start each session, and there's a variety of different kinds of sessions that we ran, with a lot of provocations, a lot of conversation, a lot of like wild thinking and post-it notes and whiteboards of just dumping ideas out that had occurred to people or occurred in conversation or happened in the hallway outside. And we get all those ideas down, documenting everything. If it wasn't documented, it didn't happen, right? And then everybody would go away. Sometimes we'd run those innovation sessions, 3 days in a row. Sometimes they'd be long, 9-hour days. Sometimes they'd be, short 1.5 or 3-hour sessions. It depended on the context. But we'd have a number of people who were observers of the sessions who didn't participate in the sessions themselves, who would take everything down. We'd record everything. We would take pictures or copies of any notes that people wrote down as part of that, and really gather all the possible material and ideas that we could out of all of those sessions. Not only for patent reasons. The attorneys, some of the people gathering all these notes were attorneys in the room who were there in order to ensure that we had, the necessary information if a patent was to come out of those sessions. But also for being able to triage. So we take all of that, turn each of those little ideas into an object in our database that I built out of Salesforce. And we'd run those ideas through our triage mechanisms. Our triage mechanisms came at it from three different perspectives. One was the pure science perspective of, are there things that is this technically feasible, and what would be the experiments that we've run against that to determine whether it is. There was kind of the customer business side of things, where is sure we might be able to make a self-drying t-shirt, but is the market worth large enough there? Do the customers really want that? Which is another layer of set of experiments that we'd be running against these ideas to move them forward to potential prototypes. And then the third was kind of ensuring that it was within our fund's mandate. We have a thesis at that fund that we were inventing technologies that were intended to dent the world. That was the goal of this particular accelerator. And so we came across a lot of great ideas that probably could have been great $10 million companies, but they wouldn't have served the thesis of our particular endeavor. And so that was our triage process, and everything moved forward on the basis of experiments.